flex. Buckle up and join the best. Let City relieve your stress. So yes, let the music soothe your soul and keep it going just to refresh. Buckle and enjoy the ride from 2 to the half of the 5. Mondays to Fridays happening live. Where we gon' have a ball, you can text your guys. Let me tell you what you really gotta do. You can count on us, we come through. We got everything you need, that's true. Are you ready for the traffic avenue? Let me tell you what you really gotta do. You can count on us, we come through. We got everything you need, that's true. An applause for the traffic avenue.
Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, the Traffic Avenue. Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, Traffic Avenue, oh yeah.
Detailed news, unparalleled coverage. City News on 97.3 FM.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
City News.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studios here at number 11. Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka in Accra.
Mustafa.
Coming up over the next 90 minutes.
So in the court, they see exactly what went on. And today you saw it. So the process filed by some lawyers very defective and all that. And indeed, in such circumstances, if the court were to rule against them, nobody should be surprised. Many a time, people lose on account of violations of the rules of court themselves.
Supreme Court adjourned senators suit challenging the passage of the anti-gay bill. We will tell you why. Also, coming up, John Mahama replies Nana Akufo-Addo. He says he will not protect his legacy of corruption, misgovernance, and arrogance. Still on Eyewitness News, AstraZeneca withdraws COVID-19 vaccines globally for commercial reasons. Stay with 97.3 Citi FM for more on this and other stories on Eyewitness News. And in business,
Inflation for April 2024 declines marginally to 25%, partly influenced by drop in food inflation.
there is more business in the next 50 minutes with Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Eyewitness News is live across the country on all our affiliates and around the globe at citynewsroom.com. Your comments are welcome via our WhatsApp line 0549 986 996, and indeed region Alpha Rate in Kumasi in the Shanti region, and Orange 107.9 FM in Kumasi, in the Volta region Global 105.1 FM in Ho and Adanu, 107.7 FM in Adaklu Waya. In the northern region, Diamond 93.7 FM in Tamale. In the upper west region, Westlink 88.1 FM in Laura. In the upper east region, Source 100.1 FM in Boku. In the northeast, this is CAP 101.3 FM in Nakbanduri. Hawa gives us our very first story.
The Supreme Court has given petitioners seeking an interlocutory injunction to stop the approval of the anti-gay bill a grace period to file some processes. Broadcast journalist Richard Delasky and researcher Dr. Amanda Odoi are challenging the passage of the anti-gay bill passed by Parliament, thus halting the transmission of the bill to President Akufo-Addo for his assent. At the Supreme Court today, of case. Here is lawyer for Richard Delasky, Pakwesi Abedu, speaking to journalists.
Well, we are now coming to court for the first time. If me, is the court's own arrangement?
I mean, from arguments from the bench, it appears as though the two applications itself were not so. When it comes to the facts of the case, they not really touch the facts of the case. Don't you think you could have done away with these two applications?
Thank you very much. In law, a motion cannot derogate from the writ and the statement of claim. So where one realizes that his motion and affidavit in support is not in tandem with his writ of summons and statement of claim, he has an unfettered right to amend. And if you don't do that and the matter proceeds by the motion, you risk a very big chance. And that's what we didn't want to go through. So to us, it was a proper review and the correction were in order.
I mean, a request was made for the satisfied with.
I always say that, but for space, our courts have nothing to hide, especially in this country. These constitutional matters are best placed in public domain so that everybody will hear and understand, to stop some of these speculations we have all around us when you are in court, because they are not actually what happened. So I'm all yours when it comes to putting these things in the airspace for everybody to hear and see. It saves even us as lawyers, because we belong to other social groupings and questions are asked every now and then about what transpired in court. So
you said the court said our motions.
No, I didn't say the court. I said observing the arguments from the bench. Like, that's what I said. I didn't say the court.
Because you see, the formulation of the release on the motion paper had a few problems, which one of the lawyers raised. And so it was our duty to clear up that one. That was why we filed for the amendment of the release on the motion paper.
So to us, the day went well for us.
Thank you very much. So
you had journalists Pakwesi Abedu.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Our court correspondent Hansen Ajimine, of course, was in court today, and he joins us on the line to help us appreciate from a journalist's point of view what actually transpired. Hello, good evening, Hansen. Welcome to Eyewitness News. What were the specifics the court asked the lawyers for the parties to deal with, perhaps by amending or refiling before they appear before the court later on this month?
So the court, with respect to the Richard Delasky case, asked the lawyers of Richard Delasky to file a for Richard Delasky. Essentially, what it means is that Richard Delasky is to a large extent starting the injunction application from start, or restarting the process. So he's expected by May 17 to file a fresh motion for an order for interlocutory injunction. That will include the things he was praying the court or asking the court to grant leave for him to add to the old motion that is before the court. For the Amanda Odoi case, the Speaker of Parliament is being asked to file. So his affidavit in opposition was struck out, and he was asked to file another affidavit in opposition because of the wording of the affidavit. The Supreme Court found it to be scandalous and interpret language which, for the president of the court, was not appropriate for the purposes of legal for purposes of the court. So these are the two things they are being asked to file. These are the two separate cases. Now, for a bit of context, right? The case was called today essentially for the Richard the Last Guy for the injunction application to be heard. So the injunction application was essentially asking the Supreme Court to prevent Parliament from transmitting the anti-LGBTQ bill to the President, and also to prevent the President from accepting or collecting the anti-LGBTQ bill from Parliament and considering it for assent, to stop all these until the final determination of the matter. So when the case was called, ordinarily what should have happened was that the parties will be asked to argue the injunction application. But lawyers for lawyers for the Speaker of Parliament, led by Thaddeus Sorry, raised initial preliminary objection. Now his objection was on the ground that just before that, lawyers for Richard the Last Guy had indicated that before they are going to move the injunction application, they have some 2 new applications before the court that they want the court to consider. These 2 new applications, one was for the court to grant them leave to amend the release on the motion paper, and the other one was for the court to grant them the leave to file supplementary affidavit before the injunction application will be moved. Now, even before they will move the first application, which is to amend the release on the motion paper, lawyers for the Speaker of Parliament raised a preliminary objection to the leave to amend the release. Thaddeus Sorry argued that there's case law to prove that if there's already been an affidavit in opposition or there's been an objection to certain release that are being sought, then the third applicant does not have the liberty to now amend those same release. His contention was that if the court allows Sky to amend his release, those same release that he is objecting to, then the court, by hearing that application, essentially is making the case, his objections, redundant. So that was the first objection that was raised by lawyers of the Speaker of Parliament, led by Thaddeus Sorry. And so Thaddeus Sorry argued extensively in court as to why, in the first place, the objection from the amendment to the release should not be granted by the court. But that was not listened to or agreed upon, because lawyers for Richard the Last Guy had argued that if you look at the High Court rules, which are applicable sometimes in the Supreme Court, it gives the right to an applicant to be able to amend any kind of processes that are before the court. Now, it was an open court, and as a result of a letter from the Attorney General, journalists were given the opportunity to send their cameras into the courtroom. So we captured some of the arguments that Thaddeus Sorry raised from the bar.
He deemed scandalous. When I say, looking at the nature of the affidavit filed by the Attorney General, it appears to align with the case you have been making in this court. And so I have even indicated in the supplementary affidavit that at the hearing of this application, I'll be seeking leave of the court to have this supplementary affidavit admitted. And so, insofar as the application is concerned, even if it were proper, he needed to indicate to this court which part was scandalous, so that the court will exercise its discretion to find out whether it is really scandalous or otherwise. My lady, we given the position that we have made, that is to ensure expeditious trial. Disposal of this case. If we have filed a motion for leave, the court would have granted leave, would have, or otherwise, then would have had to come back. So at the hearing, I've indicated that I will be seeking leave of the court. So it aligns with the court's own duty to ensure an expeditious disposal of the application, if this matter is brought to the attention of the court at this stage, to make the order. And in any event, like the trustee's case that he cited, without getting to the point that you should have gotten to.
All right, Hansen. So the state was led by the Attorney General. What were his arguments? What did he say in court?
So for Attorney General and from the argument, you are not able to get clearly if he is really opposed to the various applications or he's for the various applications. And after proceedings, when we queried him, he actually explained that as Attorney General, his job is to be fair to the law and to be true to the law. And so even though Sadio Sori at a point in time raised the issue as to why at some time he's supporting his application, at another time he's opposing his application, we explained that his is really a response to the issues, looking essentially at what the law says. And so on the first application, which has to do with the amendment of the release, he agreed with Richard the Last Guy, arguing that there's no difference, essentially, when it comes to the material facts of the first set of release and then the second set of release that they are seeking to introduce into the case. And so he finds no reason why lawyer for the Speaker of Parliament would want to oppose this. He also argues that the court processes allow for amendments to be done to court documents and processes filed before the court. Once that person has gone through the right process of seeking the permission of the court or leave of the court. On the second application by lawyers for Richard the Last Guy, he actually opposed that application. That is the application for supplementary affidavit to be added to the affidavit in support of the motion for an order for interlocutory injunction. Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah argues that the affidavit as is seen and reviewed, that's the supplementary affidavit, offends the law because it was argumentative, that it deposed to points of law, and there were no facts in it. In his view, affidavits or things that are deposed to can only be matters of fact and cannot raise issues of law or points of law. And so he opposed to this. The court, at this point, when it came to the issue of giving leave for the supplementary affidavit to be granted, for the supplementary affidavit to be filed, that was when the court now ruled for Richard the Last Guy to just go back and do everything afresh and file a new motion that will include the amended release and will also include the supplementary affidavit. Arguments that were raised by the Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah were also captured by microphones and cameras.
A proper interpretation of the Constitution and all that would really require that when some of these politically sensitive matters and matters of enormous public interest come up for hearing, indeed, the media ought to have full access. It doesn't have to be only the presidential election petition, which occurs every 4 years or so, that the media should be able to cover. And I'm very, very grateful to Her Ladyship the Chief Justice for, in no time, acceding to my request and all. And I think that all I wanted to achieve was to ensure that people do not misrepresent what goes on in the court. They see exactly what went on. And today you saw it. So the process filed by some lawyers, very defective and all that. And indeed, in such circumstances, if the court were to rule against them, nobody should be surprised. Many a time people lose on account of violations of the rules of court themselves, and then they go out there and say that justice or injustice was meted out to them. We see clearly arguments advanced by both parties for and against every application that is made in court. And of course, usually the court graciously, even sometimes bends its way to overlook certain rules of the court and even allow the applications. And so we saw justice in action today, and that's what I'm most delighted by.
One issue that came up was the choice of words in some affidavits. You took issue with it. The bench also took issue with it.
Yes. I mean, it's for the highest standards of law practice in the country. As the Attorney General himself for Justice, I'm a fair gentleman at the bar, and for that matter, I'm really concerned about practice at the bar, and it's something I've been making a lot of noise about, if for want of a better expression, I may say. And indeed, I find it very indecorous for some language to be used in affidavit. We are all supposed to be gentlemen at the bar, and if indeed you file any process, the words in the processes are actually addressed to the court, and therefore there's a need for us to always avoid unnecessary whipping up of public sentiment by the use of scandalous language and all that. And so it's actually the rules of court. I pointed it out to the court that the rules of court even frown upon the use of scandalous and insulting words. And I'm happy that the court also took exception to that. And I'm happy that ultimately the ruling was that they should withdraw the affidavit and file them again. There's a need for us to maintain the decorum, not only in the courtroom, but in the entire society. And as lawyers and people who the entire society looks up to us for direction, there's a need for us to ensure that when such matters come up, we deal with them professionally and devoid of any sentiments and emotions. The emotions out there ought not to go into the affidavit and processes filed in court. And that is it. You will not find one process filed by the Office of Attorney General containing such language at all. And I think that other lawyers also ought not to do the same.
All right, so Hansen, so that's the Attorney General. I guess this was an interview he granted you and other journalists after court proceedings today. So what's next? Yes. When do they go back to court?
So the case has been adjourned, Senator, essentially to mean that has been adjourned without a return date being provided. Richard Alaska is supposed to file the new motion by May 17, 2024, and per the rules of court and per the directions of the Supreme Court, the two defendants, that is the two defendants / respondents, that is the Speaker of Parliament and Attorney General, have 7 days to respond. So that takes us to about May 24. And we know the current practice of the Supreme Court now, the Chief Justice herself essentially will be the person to set date. And so for the return date, after May 24, that is when we will be looking at expecting when the Chief Justice will send hearing notices to the various parties in the case. Also, mind you that after May we are in June, and then in July the court will be going for vacation, and so really that is what we are expecting, that the case will be called within this period for the injunction. But the timelines, as I've given, is that after May 24, that is when we should be expecting the Chief Justice to take a decision on when the case should be called back for hearing.
All right, Hansen, thanks so much. Hansen Ajiman is our court correspondent. He was in court today, and he's been bringing us updates from what happened today in court, as a lot of people had expected. And indeed, the court sat today on this anti-LGBT suit. And from what Hansen has told us, and indeed what transpired in court, the court adjourned sitting synod, asking some of the parties to refile some of their submissions. I mean, the motion paper, statement of case, and all of that, supplementary. I mean, the affidavits in support of the motion and all of that. Let's speak to one of the proponents of this bill. They were calling for an expedited hearing. Eventually, the Supreme Court set a date for today, only for the parties to pray for leave to amend certain processes and all of that. Let's speak to him and see what he thinks about this. Of course, he's a private legal practitioner himself, MP for South Dai, the Honorable Roxy Nelson Dafamako. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. I'm sure you followed proceedings in court today. Were you in court yourself?
No, I'm in home with the Public Account Committee. So
okay, very well. But I guess whilst you were at the committee level, your mind was really in court.
I monitor proceedings.
Very well. So what does today's proceedings mean for you as a proponent and the bill itself?
Thank you very much. One, I got worried by the adjournment CNDA on grounds that by practice, matters such as this, that one has high public interest, and two, being heard pursuant to a specific request by a party for expeditious hearing. The court normally or ordinarily would adjourn the matter to a definitive date and then give timelines for parties who have been directed by the court to file processes to do so. So, for instance, if this matter were adjourned to say 30th of May, the court would have directed that, well, the plaintiff, if as directed or minded, could file processes within 4 days after today. Then when such processes are served on the defendant, then the defendants, if they are minded or as directed by the court, will also file within 4 days after the service of the process. So within a matter of 8 days, the upper ceiling 8 days, any process that ought to have been filed in the matter or any party that ought to have put his house in order to file the process would have done so. So when the court returns on, hypothetically on 30th of May, there will be nothing outstanding, safe to deal with the motion before it and determine the matter. But not having done that, the matter is now in abeyance. In abeyance in the sense that it's been adjourned for the parties to put their house in order and file the process is not giving any timelines within it to do so. That is what bothers me as a lawyer, first of all, and also as an officer of the court, and above all, as a sponsor of the bill that the life of which has been placed in abeyance as a result of this pending application or notice for a grant of an injunction. If you juxtapose the conduct of the Attorney General for me in this matter vis-a-vis his conduct in my case, when he applied for expeditious hearing or he requested for expeditious hearing in my case, he saw the alacrity and the speed with which that was determined. Then he went to sleep. And so Speaker also decided through his lawyers to ask for expeditious hearing. And this was done sometime on 27th or 28th of March. And it's taken nearly 6 weeks for that to be done today. And even though it's taken 6 weeks, now we don't even know when we are going to come back. And it's a big bother for me because Parliament, at the end of this month, hopefully, will be returning from recess to deal with some outstanding matters, including perhaps the bill that is in question. It's part of the business that is still outstanding before Parliament. So it's in everybody's interest that we get some of these matters out of the way so that we can see our way clear going forward.
Are you concerned that given that the matter is being adjourned sine die, we may not see this matter determined in this legal term or legal year? Of course, the courts go on vacation by end of July, return in October. And I'm not sure when Parliament will be around and all of that, and elections will also be approaching. Is it your concern that the matter may not be determined in this legal year before the courts go on vacation?
You and I are practitioners, so it's one of the possibilities. The other possibility too is that if the parties put their house in order and file the processes quickly, then another request could be served on the registrar of the court to issue hearing notice for us to come back in a quite recent future. But there are all possibilities. And this is why the court ordinarily doesn't do this. The court will pin you down to time within which as a party you have to act so that the court can proceed with the matter because there's an application for expeditious hearing. These are the tenets of expeditious hearing. Expeditious hearing doesn't follow normal hearing, doesn't follow the course of normal hearing. No, things are done with alacrity, with speed, with dispatch, and without wasting time.
I see. Many have also asked, so that's fine for the court and all of that. Many have also asked that what becomes the status of the bill if, let's say, the court is not able to determine the matter before Parliament is dissolved, the new Parliament comes. Ordinarily, we know the bill will have to start its journey again. But given that Parliament has passed it, what is outstanding is the assent of the President. Does the absence of the assent of the President, return it to 0.0, where a new Parliament will have to start all over again? Or because Parliament is past it, what will be left will be for the new President, whether John Mahama or Bawumia, to just assent to it. I don't know if you get my question.
Yes, I do. You see, it depends on the interpretation that is placed on what constitutes a bill. A bill, for me, becomes is cooked when it is passed by Parliament. There is an interim procedure between when it is passed by Parliament after the third reading and the procedure outlined under Article 106 in the Constitution. That is an administrative procedure of conveying the bill to the office of the President. It's also a constitutional imperative. Now, but when you define the bill as still remaining a bill until it receives the presidential assent, then technically speaking, when the life of this Parliament ends, then the life of our bill is killed. It has to be introduced in the next Parliament. But for me, Parliament has done its work. In terms of the legislative duties, it has done its work. That is why the duty of presenting the bill is no longer left in the hands of Speaker or Speaker, but it is left in the hands of the clerks to Parliament. It's an administrative rule. It's an administrative function. It's a clerical function of conveying the bill by a covering letter to the office of the President. So if it stays at the office of the President and the life of this Parliament ends, then any president who takes over will have to deal with it within the meaning of Article 106 of the Constitution.
Very well. Thanks so much. The Honorable Roxy Nelson, the Famako MP for Southern and a private legal practitioner, sponsor of the anti-LGBT bill, which is currently a matter for Supreme Court determination. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We'll take a short break, return and tell you more. Of course, your text messages have been coming and we'll read some of them out to you. Don't go away.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
KB, aka Kubeboga, now drives a Bugatti. He can even travel by road from Accra to London. Wow! KB's source of wealth is agriculture. Yes, coconut business. After losing his bank job, he started supplying coconuts at events. Now, he owns large coconut plantations and employs many young people. Charlie, we all need to trust the process, because hope days.
There has never been a better time to enter into agribusiness. Take a bold step today with the Ghana Grows program, because every step pays. Ejuma Wokrom, Ghana Grows, Hope Day, an initiative of the MasterCard Foundation in partnership with Springboard Roadshow Foundation and Limehouse.
Electroland Ghana Limited is giving its May Day promotion in all its shops and authorized dealers across Ghana. Grab a Samsung Full HD 32-inch LED TV for just 2,349 Ghana cedis. Get our discounted media tabletop fridge at 1,999 cedis. Buy a TCL UHD 4K Smart Android 55-inch LED TV at 6,299 Ghana cedis. And get a free NASCO 5-burner cooker. May Day promotion near good. Get a NASCO 90 liters top freezer at 1,699 Ghana cedis. And if you're looking for top quality dishwashers, gas hobs, chimney knots, and electric hobs, Electrolux got you with exciting discounts as well. Rush now. Terms and conditions apply. For further information, call 050-315-9739. Electroland Ghana Limited, home of luxury and affordable appliances.
Are you a builder, contractor, or homeowner with a passion for quality? Look no further. At Yale, we pride ourselves in trusted security and quality hardware for doors. Visit our showroom on 11th Lane Street in Accra, Ghana, and discover the world of Yale door hardware handles and locks. At Yale, we understand your need for security and the desire for elegance. Our products not only protect your loved ones, but also add a touch of sophistication to your home or business. Whether you're renovating your space or crafting a new masterpiece, Yale is your trusted partner with a history of 180 years of innovation. Come on down to Yale today. Experience the perfect blend of security and style with Yale. Yale, where security meets style.
Hey, Papa, see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, Papa,
Bobo, so how your engine now?
It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you can feel better energy.
Can't touch this.
Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that. Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz, and he switched. Sancho Panza. Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman. Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
It's the 3i Africa Summit, where innovation, impact, and investment converge, where technology drives transformation. From the 13th to the 15th of May 2024, heads of state, central bank governors, thought leaders, innovators, investors, academics, and entrepreneurs will converge to unleash Africa's full potential. Discover the power of digital assets, explore the state of digital growth in Africa, and unveil lessons from Africa's central bank digital currency experiments. Engage in discussions on diversity in the creative arts and tech, financing Africa's SMEs and bridging the digital gender gap. Network with investors, pitch your ideas, and access funding at the 3i Africa Deal Room and Pitchfest. Join us at the Accra International Conference Center as we ignite a fintech revolution for Africa's financial future. Visit 3iafrica.com to register now.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Akamasam kitwebi na me baba sa kwako na juma do so wonka mo mo nim sa fe e baba to aba na registration na shase obi a register ya utumi register na mesra mo kola mo kotoso mo register the now sa na tie so wabano ena tire utumi e wo Ghana la fezo ebrene dua ya juma ya no e tie anya den onipa me ba me betu no wakonwa no so no a bibia me ya no so enya no fe ni tumi jamachi emma obisa Bibi amaya oma wa be se no. Enti me ba be sramo. Oni po ni ma ye adwuma. Ifie 7.5 years ni. Ame wo gidie kese wo ne mu. Ame nim se obetumi ato ame adwuma so. Ama mo nya ho fa so. Ye fra no Mahamadu Bawumia. Ye kwa ma betuma de.
All right, so that was President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo at an event in the Eastern region where he essentially said that people should not vote for John Dramani Mahama because he will destroy his legacy, and that should he win the next election, and that his trust is in Dr. Mahmudu Bawumia, the trusted person to further his legacy. Hawa has specifics on what he said. Hawa, what did he say?
Well, Salam, he said this is an election year and the limited voter registration exercise has begun, and anybody who hasn't registered and is eligible should go out and then register. Now, this, he said, is because it's your right to vote as a citizen. Also, in that instance, he said when the time is up for voting, the job is simple, and that is he cannot hand over power to a person he defeated. He said he's not pleased with the work that is the ex-president John Mahama, who is intending to come back, is not pleased with his work, and he might destroy whatever he had done in the last 7.5 years. And he starts pleading with the people to vote for the person he had worked with in the past 7.5 years. He said he has faith in Dr. Bawumia, and he knows that he will come and continue the good work he has begun.
All right, so that's what the president said. John Dramani Mahama and the NDC have not taken that lightly. John Mahama himself has responded via his Twitter or X account or handle, and he says, of course, I will not protect your legacy of corruption, misgovernance, arrogance, ineptitude, bankrupt economy, increased unemployment, and pushing more of our people into the poverty bracket. So that is how he understood it. Let's speak to the member of a team, Beatrice Annan Esquire, spokesperson for the John Mahama campaign team. Hello, good evening, ma'am. Welcome to Eyewitness News. Is it a case that, Nana-Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has no legacy worthy of protection of the next regime? Should it be an NDC regime?
Good evening to you, Salom. You put the question rightly. This president has no legacy. Salom, if you have a dictionary there with you, I would love that we take an exercise together with our cherished listeners to show us the meaning of legacy. The legacy means that something you've done that goes beyond your lifespan and has an impact on the people for a long term. We are talking about a government that just last March, the president himself was in Parliament to admit that the state of our country today is worse off than it was 40 years ago. These are not the words of the NDC. We are talking about a country where more than 850,000 people have been pushed down the poverty line. We are talking about a country where unemployment has increased from 8% to 14.7%. And the president says what? His legacy. Just like President Mahama has said, the legacy of this president is unprecedented corruption. Never in the history of our country have we recorded an excess of 55 billion cedis as financial irregularity. Never in the history of our country has any government got access to funds because of a pandemic, and then government distributes these funds to their party foot soldiers. Never in the history of our country have we seen the levels of unbridled arrogance where when people do not have access to power, the president's appointees will say that we should draw our own timetable. And so these are their legacies. And of course, for those legacies, President Mahama will not protect. Let me also say that.
But is there any of his legacies that President Mahama will protect at all?
You listen to the audio and you have played it for your viewers. Did you hear the president himself mention any legacy?
All right. So again, let's do the exercise together. So, for example, we know there's increased enrollment of senior high school students thanks to the free SHS program. Is it a legacy that John Mahama will protect?
Okay, so let me show you. President Mahama, between the period of 2012 to 2016, increased the enrollment of secondary school students by more than 50,000. President Kufuor did same. So for the president to then say something, he ought to be talking about something he's done that historically has not been part of our history. So if I were to talk about President Mahama's legacy, then I'll be proud to mention the UGMC, because historically we've never had a 612-bed hospital like the UGMC. So the president himself could not tell the people he was addressing what his legacy is. And I was coming to the point that when the name of Akufo-Addo is mentioned, he'll be remembered for unprecedented nepotism. Never in the history of our country have you had the presidents bring as much as 51 family and friends into government as appointees. You have a precedent that the environment has been destroyed today. COCOBOD is making losses. The ECG is making losses. All state organizations which are making profits have now become liabilities onto the nation. Never in the history of our country have we experienced the levels of state capture like we had in PDS, in Japan, and now we are having to talk
let me interrogate your claim about the progressive free SHS. So 2012 to 2016, you increased the number by 50,000 cumulatively, or 50,000 per year.
Cumulatively, in fact, more than 50,000.
So let's say 50,000. But we know that between 2017 and now, the numbers have grown to millions. About 2.5 million people have benefited, and the numbers in the schools have doubled. Yes, so 50,000 versus doubling the number. That is
so
not
let me show you something. When you are doing a comparative analysis, you don't take the year and then say that, oh, now we have 2 million people in school. You would have to look at the number of people you have and the increase recorded versus the population growth before you can do that analysis. And I'm telling you that if the analysis is about increase in enrollment, every successive government have increased enrollment, and future governments will increase enrollment. So
yes, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Yes. So you added to it. So that's a fair point to make. But we're talking about the percentage increase, the rate of increase. So if you were increasing by 5% every year, and now you increase by, for example, 20%, that is quite a quantum leap, which must be explained. And that explanation in this case is largely due to the free SHS, is it not?
Can we look at the definition of legacy so we can have the discussion in context? Because not every action and inaction can be described as a legacy. And so every future government, unless you are telling me that a future government will come and reduce the number of secondary school students we have, then you can actually be talking about what you're talking about. We in the NDC are saying that Nana Addo doesn't have a legacy. At a time when the nation is reeling under hardship, let me make this point. Before Nana Addo became president, he did two things that people, associate him with. First of all, he was campaigning in church stations and church bars. You remember, where there are even pictures of him eating and sitting in church to show that he was with the masses. At the time he was doing this, fuel was less than 16 cedis per gallon. Today, the fuel is 68 cedis and beyond. So if that is the legacy you were talking about, that's what the NDC is telling you, that then we will destroy that legacy. When he did the second famous thing, the Calipo challenge, at the time, Calipo was 1 cedi. Today, he should attempt doing the same Calipo and see whether Ghanaians can afford even Calipo, because Calipo is 5 cedis. What we are saying is that in every sector of the economy, even in the education that you're talking about.
Well, let me give you the definition of legacy. Well, one of the definitions is the long-lasting impact of particular events, actions, etc. that took place in the past or of a person's life. All right. So how about the issue about Agenda 111 hospitals we see dotted across the country? A lot of them have not been a lot of them have not been completed. We understand.
You shouldn't have issued the caveat.
No, but of course they've not said they are done, right? They said they are building them. They may not have met the time limits or the deadlines they gave themselves, but we see some of them around at various stages of completion. It could be 5%, it could be 20%, it could be 30%. Is this a legacy that John Mahama will want to complete? Remember, we've been talking about abandoned projects. Will Mahama complete those projects?
Let me rephrase your question to understand. Are you asking me whether cutting short and starting projects can be described as legacy? Is that your question?
Well, we see some work.
Agenda 111.
Yes, we see some work ongoing, and they tell us that they will complete some of them. I'm not sure they can complete. Whether you complete it or not, it becomes a legacy, does it not?
That is not true. Otherwise, and that is why this president is on a sword-cutting spree with nothing to show. That is why he went to Labadi to demolish their hospital, and today there is nothing to show. That is why he went to Shama to do same, and today the place is a bushy area. So the definition of legacy cannot be that somebody who goes around cutting stop and starting project. But let me address the concern. The president himself, in his State of the Nation's address, has told everybody, Parliament and the people of Ghana, that he, Nanado, cannot complete those projects. He himself. In fact, in the 2024 budget, there are no allocations for the Agenda 111 to show that it can be completed even by the set time. If you look at the report presented to the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, it tells you that they simply cannot finish. They themselves are projected to finish the project in 2027. So if under his tenure, he cannot point to a single hospital, including even the one that he promised, where lies the legacy even in the health sector? Where lies the legacy?
I see.
You know, we must not entertain people speaking because of an election year. We must put people to the test. We must let politicians know that you cannot just make statements and go, because many people are reeling under excruciating pains today. And when the president has an opportunity to address the nation, to say something to calm us down, he engage in what I would describe as self-aggrandizement. The president has simply lost touch with the plight of the people, the short people he went to visit, the taxi drivers he went to visit, the choba people he went to visit. I can tell you that their lives are worse off than it was in 2016.
Very well. Beatrice, I want to thank you so much for speaking to us this evening on the question of legacy. On the question of legacy of the president, whether indeed there is a legacy or not. The president says he has a legacy. Thanks so much for speaking to us. And we wish you well, Beatrice. Beatrice Annan is spokesperson for the John Mahama campaign, and she's been speaking to us on President Akufo-Addo's comment a couple of days ago that they should not vote for Mahama because he will not protect his legacy. Mahama replied in a tweet today to say that indeed he will not protect his legacy of corruption and all of that. And so that is where the issue is now. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Some of your comments that have come through. This one from Papani Intema says, good evening, Salam. Please inform President Akufo-Addo that Dr. Bawumia is vehemently opposed to his legacy, promising to review because his earlier driver's mate under his regime. God bless you. This one from Carlos says, yes, I agree with President Akufo-Addo. Voting for John Mahama will expose Akufo-Addo's lies, corruption, and his desire for the depreciation of the country. Mahama will expose not only Akufo-Addo but also his ministers, including the vice president, dismantling their corrupt empire and revealing deceitful practices, you say. Kwekun Lapa says, what is Akufo-Addo's legacy? Vindictiveness, failed economy, lies, ineptitude, impunity, corruption, bankruptcy, and arrogance, you ask. We'll take a short break. We'll return with more. Don't go away.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Are you feeling tired after a hard day's work? Have you lost your appetite even for your favorite dish? Viral Blood Tonic is a nutritionally balanced, pleasant-tasting tonic fortified with iron and vitamins to boost your appetite and energy levels for high performance. Viral Blood Tonic, easy to take and good for the whole family. Viral from Danex Iting Starwin PLC. If symptoms persist after 48 hours, consult a physician. This advert is FDA approved.
In a world where only the best survives, you need a fuel that can match your drive. A fuel with unparalleled protection for your engine, superior efficiency, and unrivaled performance. A fuel so unbeatable, when you get behind the wheel, you'll focus on what really matters. The journey ahead. That fuel is Shell V-Power, because no other fuel gives your engine better protection, better efficiency, and better performance. Be unbeatable. Drive unbeatable. Shell V-Power. Shell. Go well.
You know your papa see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, Papa!
Bobo, so how your engine now?
It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you can feel better energy.
Can't touch this. Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that?
Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz, and he switched. Sancho Panza.
Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz?
No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer.
Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies DA improves fuel efficiency.
Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation Movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman.
Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
It's the 3i Africa Summit, where innovation, impact, and investment converge, where technology drives transformation. From the 13th to the 15th of May 2024, heads of state, central bank governors, thought leaders, innovators, investors, academics, and entrepreneurs will converge to unleash Africa's full potential. Discover the power of digital assets, explore the state of digital growth in Africa, and unveil lessons from Africa's central bank digital currency experiments. Engage in discussions on diversity in the creative arts and tech, financing Africa's SMEs, and bridging the digital gender gap. Network with investors, pitch your ideas, and access funding at the 3i Africa Deal Room and Pitchfest. Join us at the Accra International Conference Center as we ignite a fintech revolution for Africa's financial future. Visit 3iafrica.com to register now.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. Citi Business News. Be informed.
Time now for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News, brought to you by GCB Bank PLC. GCB Personal Loan, make that big move and dream a reality. My name is Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Details of our stories now. Inflation for the month of April has decreased slightly, recording a rate of 25%, down from the March figure of 25.8%. This represents a 0.8 percentage point decrease, according to the Consumer Price Index estimate released by the Ghana Statistical Service. Notably, food inflation decelerated, shifting from 29.6% in March to 26.8%. Conversely, non-food inflation saw an increase of 23.5% from the previous month's 22.6%. Here is the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobnainim, giving more details at a press briefing earlier today.
In the month of April 2024, rate of inflation stood at 25.0%, indicating that between April 2023 and April 2024, general prices of goods and services went up by 25.0%. This 25.0% indicates a slowdown of 0.8 percentage points between the rate that was recorded in March 2024 of 25.8% relative to 25.0% for the month of April 2024. We saw a contrasting trend between food and non-food inflation, while we saw a decrease in non-food inflation from 29.6% to 26.8% for the month of April 2024. The reverse was the case for non-food inflation, as it increased from 22.6% to 23.5%. The rate of inflation of 26.8% that has been recorded for food inflation is the lowest in the last 13 months. From a regional perspective, the Upper East region recorded the highest rate of inflation of 42.5%, which was close to 4 times the rate that was recorded by the Otu region, which had the lowest of 11.3% for the month of April 2024.
That was Government Statistician Professor Samuel Kobna Inim. The National Pensions Regulatory Authority (NPRA) has begun rolling out new charges for the renewal of license and registration fees for service providers administering funds of individual trustees. This means service providers will pay 1% additional fees to what was charged last year. The following news desk report, filed by Daniel Oduro-Mensah and read by Ni Ayikwe Okai, provides further details.
The National Pensions Regulatory Authority, in a public notice monitored from its website, has announced its renewed charges for service providers within the pensions industry, including licensed trustees, pension fund managers, and pension fund custodians. Service providers overseeing the funds of individual trustees will now have to pay 500 Ghana cedis this year, as against 250 Ghana cedis charged in 2023 as renewal and registration fees. Comparing other fees charged for last year, corporate trustees, pension fund custodians and pension fund managers have their renewal of license and registration fees maintained, ranging from 3,000 Ghana cedis to 5,000 Ghana cedis. The notice also maintained the application, licensing and registration fees for service providers, which ranged from 2,220 Ghana cedis to 5,550 Ghana cedis. Similarly, there was no change in registration fees for pension schemes comprising master trust, employer, personal, or group personal scheme, as the fees remained between 5,550 Ghana cedis to 11,100 Ghana cedis.
That was a City Business News Desk report. Now, Ghana's Supreme Court has begun hearing a petition seeking to prevent President Akufo-Addo from signing the anti-gay bill into law. The case is feared to potentially threaten both the West African country's $20 billion debt restructuring and test the World Bank's commitment to supporting Ghana's anti-poverty fight. City Business News sheds light on the World Bank's potential dilemma should the bill receive clearance.
The controversial Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill was passed by a majority of MPs through popular voice vote on February 28, despite significant pushback from advocacy groups. The bill entails penalties for individuals engaged in LGBTQ+ sexual act, with potential imprisonment ranging from 6 months to 3 years. Additionally, it imposes severe penalties of 3 to 5 years in prison for persons who promote, sponsor, or support LGBTQ+ activities. Apart from its moral and ethical implications, its passage has raised substantial economic concerns. There are fears that donor partners and investors, particularly from Western countries, may reassess their engagement with Ghana. The Finance Ministry has also raised an alarm over the potential loss of funding estimated at $3.8 billion from the World Bank. This loss could have ripple effect on Ghana's International Monetary Fund program, as the current IMF ECF program relies on predictable financing from development partners, including the World Bank. Ghana's Supreme Court has been petitioned to prevent the president from signing the bill into law. If the court rejects the appeal, the World Bank will face the dilemma whether to continue supporting Ghana's anti-poverty efforts, which aligns with its priorities, or prioritize defending liberal values. The World Bank, however, is yet to make an official statement on the matter.
That report was filed by City Business News' Edna Agnes Bochin. The value of Ghana's non-traditional export increased to $3.9 billion in 2023 from the $3.5 billion recorded in 2022. This is according to the latest statistics from the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA. This growth has been attributed to a combination of structural changes within Ghana's NTE ecosystem and the effective implementation of the National Export Development Strategy. The following news desk report has more.
The Ghana Export Promotion Authority in the report knows that the semi-processed subsector continues to be the leading contributor to Ghana's non-traditional exports, accounting for a significant 85.04% of total Sahelian countries, particularly Burkina Faso.
That was a news desk report, and that's it for City Business News on Eyewitness News. The business news on Eyewitness News is brought to you by GCB Bank PLC. GCB Personal Loan, make that big move and dream a reality. My name is Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Up next is Point Blank.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
It's the 3i Africa Summit, where innovation, impact, and investment converge, where technology drives transformation. From the 13th to the 15th of May 2024, heads of state, central bank governors, thought leaders, innovators, investors, academics, and entrepreneurs will converge to unleash Africa's full potential. Discover the power of digital assets, explore the state of digital growth in Africa, and unveil lessons from Africa's central bank digital currency experiments. Engage in discussions on diversity in the creative arts and tech, financing Africa's SMEs, and bridging the digital gender gap. Network with investors, pitch your ideas, and access funding at the 3i Africa Deal Room and Pitchfest. Join us at the Accra International Conference Center as we ignite a fintech revolution for Africa's financial future. Visit 3iafrica.com to register now.
There are some classy celebrations that calls for whipping out your favorite China sets. Same goes for your luxury vehicle. Just any engine oil won't do. Premium understands premium best. The new Shell Helix Ultra 0W20 SP with carbon neutral properties is the one for your premium car. It's a fully synthetic motor oil designed using the Shell Pure Plus technology. Prevents dirt buildup with exceptional cleaning power, leaving your pistons cleaner than a whistle, up to 50% more than the industry standard, and gives you stronger, long-lasting engine performance. So, if you want your classic car to run smoothly like a Ferrari for years to come, use the Shell Helix Ultra 0W20 SP with carbon neutral properties. Shell Helix Ultra 0W20 SP, designed for ultimate engine performance.
KB, aka Kubeboga, now drives a Bugatti. He can even travel by road from Accra to London. Wow! KB's source of wealth is agriculture. Yes, coconut business. After losing his bank job, he started supplying coconuts at events. Now, he owns large coconut plantations and employs many young people. Charlie, we all need to trust the process, cause hope day.
There has never been a better time to enter into agribusiness. Take a bold step today with the Ghana Grows program, because every step pays. Ejuma Wokro, Ghana Grows, Hope Day, an initiative of the MasterCard Foundation in partnership with Springboard Roadshow Foundation and Limehouse.
Life is a stage, and we're all players, playing the supporting role.
The title of my poem is
Playing with Rhythm. Playing the lead. Playing to win. Playing with gusto. Playing for the sheer thrill until the curtain falls. Because every journey begins with play. Kickstart yours with MTN. So, what are we doing today? MTN.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
This is Point Blank on Eyewitness News. My name is Selom Adonu. Now, the Ghana Health Service has urged the public not to panic following the worldwide withdrawal of the AstraZeneca vaccine. This comes after makers of the AstraZeneca vaccine announced that the global withdrawal of the vaccine due to potential effects on the population. If you recall, AstraZeneca is one of those vaccines produced at the heat of the COVID-19, which served many purposes. And the company is announcing the withdrawal of their vaccines from the global market. However, Dr. Patrick Kumabo, the Director General of the service, urged the public to remain calm. On the line to help us appreciate the matters is Dr. Kwame Amponsa Chiano. His name was almost a household name in the heat of the COVID. He is a programs manager for the expanded program on immunization at the Ghana Health Service. Hello, Doc. Good evening. Welcome to Point Blank on Eyewitness News. Yeah, so we understand that the withdrawal, according to the Ghana Health Service, is in respect of economic or commercial reasons, and that we should not panic. Can you explain further, please? Hello, sir.
Hello, my brother. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, sir. Did you hear my question? We understand from the Ghana Health Service that the withdrawal of the AstraZeneca vaccine from the global market is a commercial one. I mean, the reason for it is commercial, and that we should not be worried. We should keep calm because there's nothing to be worried about. Is that correct? And why is the Ghana Health Service saying that to us?
Good evening to your cherished viewers or listeners. I'm not too sure whether I'm on TV or...
Yes, we are on Facebook and on radio, yes.
Right. So, yes. So, just to follow up from where the Director General left off, we had reports. We also had reports and followed on this issue of withdrawal of AstraZeneca on commercial basis, and for us, we've also been looking out for other reports apart from what was initially given to us, and we believe that yes, there's no cause for alarm, and I really side with what the Director General said initially.
Well, so this announcement by AstraZeneca that it was withdrawing its COVID-19 vaccines worldwide comes months after the company admitted that the drug could cause very rare but life-threatening injuries. And you're saying that this is not part of the reasons why they are withdrawing from the market, and it's purely for commercial reasons, and so we should not be worried?
Yeah, so first of all, you recall that when we started the vaccination exercise, there were three key questions that we asked. Number one, is the vaccine safe? If the vaccine is not safe, nobody would even pass it. So if you recall again, WHO working with the EMA at the time, that's the European Medicines Agencies and the UK regulatory agencies, had cleared the vaccine had authorized the vaccine for use. For any vaccine, once it comes onto the market, it is still followed up in terms of surveillance. So various regulatory agencies within each country would also be following up. We will again recall that in 2021, the issue of these clots came up, and WHO issued some guidelines on how to manage the clots, and that they had looked at the data from the Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety, and that there were no new safety signals, and that the benefits of the vaccines far outweigh the risks, and so we continue to use the vaccines. If there are any new signals, then of course they would inform us. But so far, we don't have any new safety signals. So this issue of the thrombotic effect is really not a new thing. It came up somewhere in 2021.
I see. So do we still have some of these vaccines, AstraZeneca vaccines, in our storehouse?
Incidentally, if you've been following us, we don't even have AstraZeneca because it was not eventually authorized for use in Ghana. The market authorization holders did not pursue that for commercial reasons because Ghana is a very small market. So the only vaccine we have for which we are using, the only vaccine we are using now is J&J. If you've been following us for over the past 3 or 4 months.
I see. So that's quite some good news or some reassuring news for people who generally feel that there's something amiss. But talk to us.
For me, let's reassure. I mean, there's no cause for alarm. Even for the thrombotic effect that came up, that became a topical issue in 2021, it was extensively discussed. You recall, it was it was discussed quite well. And then the issue came up that these were very rare events that could happen within, for every million doses you gave, maybe up to about 4 or 5. And so, if again, for every vaccine, you could have such rare events. It's not just about AstraZeneca. And the issue is that it may not necessarily be a thrombotic effect, but it could be other rare events.
I see. We also got the news sometime late last week that some new cases of COVID-19 have been reported. What can you tell us about that, and how many cases do we have if you have the figures of it?
Okay, so I don't have the figures of it, but at least I can give you some approximations. We haven't stopped testing for COVID over the past 6 months, let's say 5 months or so, since January. We've tested over 2,000 samples, out of which about 10% has tested positive. COVID is not gone, actually. You recall in May 4th or 5th, the WHO declared that COVID was no longer an emergency. That did not actually imply that the pandemic was over, as opposed to what people think. The pandemic is not yet over. We know that COVID is still around, and we are trying to manage COVID like any other endemic disease that we have. It's come to stay, and so we need to manage it the way we manage any other illness.
Will you advise the wearing of nose masks as we did in the past, given that we are beginning to record new cases? Okay,
so maybe to add to what the issues are around the new cases, we've had quite some new variants over time, and manufacturers have directed their vaccines at the new multiple variants. And I believe that's one of the reasons AstraZeneca probably is not even now profiting in quotes in terms of commercial. I mean, they are not making any headway in terms of commercial, as it were, profit. And so they are losing out in a way because they are newer vaccines, and probably people are going for the newer vaccines, and that is probably informed also their decision to withdraw, because there's no gain now.
Yeah, so what should we be doing? I asked about the wearing of nose masks.
So for nose masks, yes, we still will advise that if you are going to places where, especially for indoor activities where you have a lot of people gathering, then we would still advise that you put on the face masks. But of course, in the open, one of the reasons why we as it were, the face mask was probably no longer enforced was the fact that the vaccines were available and that a lot of people had received it, and so the risk outdoors was not as great as indoors. But of course, the hand washing and the hand sanitizing should be enforced, should continue, and should be a household thing for everybody, because it does not just protect us against the COVID, but many other diseases.
I see. Is there any plan to ramp up vaccination efforts, mass vaccination, booster doses, etc.? Is there any such plans?
So one of the strategies of managing COVID as part of us, as though is now endemic in quotes, is the fact that we are routinizing it, making it like we give children vaccines So now adult vaccines, and it's also in line with a global push for what we call the approach to managing, not just managing epidemics, but also preventing epidemics in a life course approach. And so at every stage where people need vaccines, we're able to give them. So as part of it, as part of our immunization plan, we also have the periodic intensification of immunization activities for COVID, just as we do for children. And so we will continue to give these, we'll do these campaigns as long as COVID remains with us.
Do you know about the spread of the new cases we have recorded across the country?
Basically, people get ill and, of course, recover. And so over the past 4-5 months or so, we've had over 200 cases. Most of them have recovered. There's no severe or critical case now. We have, as at the end of April, we had about 18 or so active cases. But I believe that by now, the active cases have even reduced. But basically, I'll say half of the cases are in Greater Accra. There are a few in Eastern and 1 or 2 cases in Ashanti and so on. So the spread is still like it used to be when we started. Usually the densely populated areas are the most affected.
I also noticed that many people do not or are not particularly interested in going to pay to get tested for COVID because, one, they think it's expensive and maybe they don't see it as a danger anymore. Is this a concern to the Ghana Health Service that maybe we may have more cases in the population than the reported cases? Because these cases recorded, I'm sure, are those which have been tested and confirmed, but there could be more. Is there a concern to the Ghana Health Service that people may not be testing as you want them to?
As far as we are concerned, as far as we know, we've been encouraging the regions to keep on testing like they used to do some time back. If you recall again, when we had the H1N1, we went through a similar cycle. I can assure you that even to date, we still have H1N1 around. And it is because we have sentinel sites where we do the testing. But for COVID, we still encourage all the labs that are scattered across the nation and in all the regions to keep on testing so that we know the actual magnitude. So the testing hasn't ceased. We're still doing the test.
So the testing, very, very important. We talked about costs. Is there a way the costs would come down? I don't know what Ghana Health Service can do about that.
I do not have a lot of information on the cost, so I may be giving you wrong information in terms of cost. So when I have better information, we could discuss the cost. But I'm not too sure whether the public institutions are taking money for testing. I need to check.
I see. We some time ago heard about the RDTs, which would make it easier for people to test at home and quite affordable as well. That discussion, we didn't hear much about again. What's the status of the RDT discussion, please?
In fact, I'm not too sure which ones that you remember for testing and all that is FDA that deals with it. I'm not too sure which ones have passed the test from FDA for which we are using. All I know is that we're still doing the nose and throat swabs for testing, especially in our public health reference laboratory.
I see. Well, thanks so much. But any final word for the listening public in respect of what we should be doing?
Allay people's fears. When we have issues of withdrawal, there are two things involved. Either there's a safety concern, or probably because as AstraZeneca themselves put it, because of commercial reasons. As far as we know, we do not have any new safety concerns about AstraZeneca for which we have to be worried, because these issues about thrombosis and so on came up quite early from the onset of the vaccination exercise, somewhere around 2021, and that was dealt with. Number two, COVID is not gone, and so we should not think that COVID is a thing of the past. We keep on hearing that the pandemic was declared over. The pandemic has never been declared over. It's the emergency phase. The way we managed it with emergencies, where there were lockdowns and all kinds of restrictions and so on, that those things have changed, and that now we are routinizing COVID management and even the COVID vaccination. And so when we go out into enclosed areas, indoor activities, we will still encourage that people keep on wearing masks, and also make the hand hygiene and hand washing with soap and running water be a household thing for everybody until COVID is declared over.
I see. Thank you so much. But just before you go, I said that was the final one, but where can I get some of the vaccines if I have not vaccinated? I'm not vaccinated yet.
In fact, as we speak now, even today, this morning and afternoon, we were in the field. We started the periodic intensification of COVID vaccination alongside the Child Health Promotion Week, African Vaccination Week celebration, and every nook and cranny, outreach services, health centers, hospitals are vaccinating now. And even beyond the week, that is from 5th to 9th, once you walk into any big hospital or public facility, you should be able to get COVID vaccine.
All right. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Dr. Kwame Amposa-Chianu, Programs Manager for the expanded program on immunization, Ghana Health Service. And the word is that COVID is not gone. It's the emergency phase that is subsided. And so we need to be careful as well. He's saying that if you're going into crowded areas, it will be advisable to wear your nose masks, and all of that. And that if you have not taken the vaccine, you will want to do that. And they are still around. This is Point Blank on 97.3 Citi FM on Eyewitness News. Now, some information coming through from the presidency. In respect of the KPMG report on the SML audit. After the president, as you may know by now, released a statement detailing recommendations from the KPMG in their report, quite a number of people asked the presidency or the president to release the full KPMG report. Mr. Suleimana Brahima, Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, which more or less runs the Fourth Estate newspaper. The paper's team of investigative journalists broke that story, led by Menasia Zuri Awuni. So Suleimana Brahima wrote to the presidency requesting for information under Article 21 of the Constitution and relevant portions of the Right to Information Act 2019, asking the presidency to release the report. The president has replied, Suleimana Brahima, Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. He says, no way. I read for you the full letter addressed to the gentleman, Suleimana Brahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. It says, request for information under Article 21, 1F of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana and Section 18 of the Right to Information Act 2019, Act 989. It says, I write to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated 24th April 2024, in which you made a request pursuant to Section 18 of the Right to Information Act 2019, Act 989, RTI Act, for a copy of the full KPMG audit report on the revenue assurance contract, considerations and influence on decision-making reserved for the highest offices of the land. It continues to